I had never heard of Yeehaw Junction a day in my life until June of 2023. I was home in North Carolina visiting family, and I was talking to my uncle about Florida and all the cool places he has seen over his many years of adventuring, antiquing, and attending motorcycle rallies not only in Florida, but all over the country. My uncle is an avid collector of many things. I am convinced he is in possession of the largest collection in the world of all things licensed Jeep. And one of the neat things he collects are smashed pennies. He mentioned to me that he had always wanted to get a penny smashed at this weird little cool place in Florida known as Yeehaw Junction. Ambitiously, I determined to visit Yeehaw Junction to get this smashed penny and bring it home as a present on our next trip home to North Carolina. This led me down the rabbit hole of learning about Yeehaw Junction. To make a long story short, there will be no smashed penny gift to my uncle because the penny smashing machine has long since been removed from the site. But even sadder than that is the story of what happened to Yeehaw Junction. Yeehaw Junction is a census-designated place in Osceola County, Florida. As of the U.S. 2020 census, it had a population of only 235 people. The area has been confused at other times in the past with a place known as Buenaventura Lake, so the correct data is not always recorded. Yeehaw Junction is located at the intersection of U.S. Highway 441, also known as State Road 15, with State Road 60 and the Florida Turnpike, also known as State Road 91. It is approximately 30 miles west of Vero Beach and 30 miles north of Lake Okeechobee. The site is named after the Yeehaw Station on the Florida East Coast Railway Kissimmee Valley Line, which passed through Yeehaw Junction from 1914 until 1947. The exact origins of the name Yeehaw Junction are not entirely certain, but many theories exist. According to town historians and several original newspaper articles that used to be on display in the Desert Inn and Restaurant, the town was most originally known as Jackass Junction or Jackass Crossing. This particular name was given to the site back in the 1800s when local ranchers rode in on burros to visit the Desert Inn, which at the time was the local brothel. As the 1950s approached, the Florida legislature felt that a name change was necessary due to the construction of the Florida Turnpike through the center of the community and thus the increase in public traffic to the area. In 1957, it was renamed to Yeehaw Junction as it is known in present day. Some people say that the community's name comes from the fact that the locals would yell "Yeehaw!" A book by author Alan Morris entitled Florida Place Names says that this name is derived from a corruption of the Seminole Indian word Yeehaw, which means wolf. At any rate, back in its earliest days, Yeehaw Junction was a desolate place in more or less the middle of nowhere, dominated by one lonely building known as the Desert Inn. The Desert Inn functioned as a hotel, bar, and restaurant, serving and housing road-weary travelers going back as far as the late 1800s. Half a century later, it had become that place a traveler was forced to go if his vehicle broke down anywhere in the wilderness that exists for miles on all 4 compass points. There was a simple service station at Yeehaw that sold tires to replace those that might have been blown out on the unfortunate traveler's vehicle. These were famously the most expensive tires in the whole state of Florida. 100 years after its humble beginnings, Yeehaw Junction had become a travel stop to get Disney tickets or Florida souvenirs. There's the shower curtain from the bathroom. You see? The Desert Inn itself did not change much over the years. Grainy photos going back to the 1950s of the white and green building look eerily similar to the pile of construction carnage on site today. Having evolved from a cowboy and brothel times, the site became a unique combination of bar, restaurant, and hotel, reportedly serving up the best chili known in the Western world. Eventually, it was placed on the National Register of Historic Places, a reminder of old Florida from long before the Disney Universal SeaWorld times. The Yeehaw Junction exit on Florida's Turnpike is still an active pit stop, with several gas stations and convenience stores at the intersection. This was once a major stopping point for tourists to purchase conditional discount tickets for various tourist attractions in the Orlando area, but the ticket booth has since been closed down. The Turnpike exit links the State Road 60, which is an important traffic route from Vero Beach on the Atlantic to Tampa and St. Petersburg on the Gulf Coast. The Turnpike exit is the southern end of the longest stretch of limited access highway without an exit in the United States, the next interchange to the north being 48.9 miles away at Kissimmee and St. Cloud. It is also the northern end of the second longest such stretch, with the next exit to the south being 40.5 miles away at Fort Pierce. keeping my eyes peeled though. I sent Uncle Gary a picture of Abra in front of that jackass cross. I stepped inside to look around as far as I dared. It seemed like the floor was not actually in terrible shape. I wasn't too concerned about my safety, but I wasn't sure about the structure above me. And I also wasn't sure if I might run into anybody making this their home. So I only stepped in a little ways to kind of peek around, stick my camera around a couple corners so I could see what was there. But I went in as far as I dared, and if anybody wants to see more than what I've shown here, then you feel free to go check it out yourself. But I was very worried about this whole building coming down on top of my head, so this is about as far as I was able to peek. In late 1968, the Desert Test Center conducted a biological warfare experiment at Yeehaw Junction. The experiment was part of Project 112 and was labeled DTC Test 69-75. Stem rust, referred to as Agent TX, was tested to determine its effectiveness against a wheat crop in time of war. The tests were conducted over a period of 1 month from October 31st to December 1st, 1968. Live Agent was sprayed by a U.S. Air Force McDonnell Douglas F-4 Phantom fighter jet on 7 occasions, and Dead Agent, consisting of spores that were killed by a gaseous mixture of ethylene oxide, was sprayed on 4 occasions. The stated objective of this testing was to investigate the effectiveness of this means of biological warfare to reduce Soviet wheat crop yields in selected geographic areas. I really wanted to go up these stairs and see what the upper floor of the Desert Inn looked like. The stairs themselves seemed to be in pretty good shape. I wasn't worried about that, but Michael was standing behind me and he was having a fit for me to come back down. And it's probably for the better, because from looking at the outside, I bet the integrity of the floor up there was just not up to code. So it's probably good that I didn't go. But I'm really bummed. I would have loved to seen what the inside of the upstairs looked like. The biological experimenting was also an attempt to determine the downwind travel of Agent TX, estimate the yield reduction and loss of wheat crops attacked by this weapon, study the effectiveness of the dead agent as a stimulant, and evaluate the adequacy to predict downwind dosages. The tests were unknown to local residents and officials until October of 2002, when U.S. Senator Bill Nelson demanded the release of details of the testing from the U.S. Department of Defense after knowledge of the test was revealed during a larger congressional inquiry of potential effects on participating veterans of chemical and biological testing. The Desert Inn closed temporarily in June 2018 with plans to be reopened as a museum, restaurant, and motel after a restoration project. However, it was nearly completely demolished on December 22nd of 2019 when an 18-wheeler lost control on the highway and crashed into the building at high speed. This is ironic when you consider that at the time, Yeehaw Junction was basically the only building at the intersection that a person could possibly hit. The driver was northbound on US 441 and made a left turn onto State Road 60. He skidded off the road and plowed into the building, which thankfully was empty due to the planned restoration project. I was really fascinated by this little motel behind the Desert Inn. I like the way they've painted the exterior to make each and every room look like a separate cabin that's made out of logs with wooden shutters. I think that is so cute. So cute. I really want that nail polish.
Babe, will you stop?
How can I get it?
Honey, stop that. Now, come on.
There's a coffee mug in there. Uncle Gary would love it.
Baby. Does it say the name of the thing?
No.
Okay.
If it did, would it make you more likely to go get it?
What do you mean? I would have to break the window out because I can't get through the door.
Maybe it was just superstition, but something told me not to pull these curtains back. I've actually seen in other YouTube videos this particular window, and I just get the funny feeling that once upon a time someone was living here, and this particular room kind of gives off an odd vibe, so I just decided to step away from it. Look, Visine! Visine! It reminds me of Eileen Warnos. Remember she said that guy put Visine, or he used a Visine bottle to put rubbing alcohol? buildings? Did you look?
I looked in this one. Somebody's been in there recently because there's beer cans in there.
Yeah, these motel rooms have cans in them. Like, how? Who? I guess I wouldn't assume you would board it up dirty, but you must have.
Well, this log's been busted. See on the outside of it here?
Yeah. You can actually almost see better on the phone. There's some eggshells over there.
I know.
Sometimes you can almost see a bag full of seashells or something. You can kind of almost see better on the phone than you can. Now that the Desert Inn is closed and nearly totally destroyed, the destiny of Yeehaw Junction might soon be nothing more than a memory. There have been rumors for years that the owners of the property are planning to restore the site, but this is becoming more and more unlikely. The property has been allowed to deteriorate for nearly 4 years at this point, with little signs of any effort to preserve what little is left of the historic landmark. Even the plaque designating that this site is a historic landmark has been lost or stolen. Been looking all over for exactly what I have right here.
Oh no, are you serious?
I found it! Yeah! Unfortunately, I guess you could say this is a sign of the times. In July 2022, a large developer was under contract to buy over 14,000 acres of ranch near Yeehaw. Plans are now underway for a community of 34,000 homes, complete with a town square, golf courses, and more. Yeehaw Junction is truly a crossroads at a crossroads.